This will be a short video on my frustration at the way certain conversations are going on YouTube. Um, they're not really debates yet, they're more conversations solely because people tend not to want to check their sources. Um, I've been wrong many, many times, but if nothing else, I've always tried to back up the points I do make. So when people tend to make grand statements, the common sense logic that everyone seems to depend on day to day, I get on Google and I search it and I try and find some evidence for their claim. I always work, if they make a positive claim, I always try to find that evidence for that claim. I don't set out to disprove that claim. But it's only when I discover that they they haven't really done any research. That's why they're not citing any sources. I'm in an academic discipline where if you don't cite sources, you're asked to leave the office. I mean, that's how it goes. So it's shocking to me, especially when we're talking about pretty important topics. I mean, we're talking about God, the existence of God. We're talking about feminism. We're talking about our current society, all these things. So it really surprises me that, I mean, obviously these type of subjects do attract their fair share of people who have been indoctrinated in some way. And we're all guilty of that. I mean, I have my own personal biases, the same as anyone else. And the only real way of breaking away from personal biases is through more and more research, is trying to take the opposite claim. And if you attempt to prove the opposite claim to yourself, and do everything that you possibly can to make that happen, and then yet it still fails, if the opposite claim, there is no research for it, or the arguments for it contain a logical fallacy and so on, then you should reject it and maintain the status quo of whatever view you have. It is only when you have something that can break that status quo, and that's happened to me many times before. I mean, that's the nature of philosophical investigation. I mean, I've moved from being a moral realist to a complete and utter anti-realist to my current position after Simon Blackburn as a moral quasi-realist, which I will talk about eventually. But it's just more, I wanted to make the point that I really, really would urge people to look up the point. I try to reply to as many comments as possible to my videos. At the moment, I do have the time to do that, but in the next few days, I will be very, very busy, so I won't really be able to do that anymore. But it would help me an awful lot if you could, when you do make a statement, you qualify it, or you give me some sort of citation, or you refer to something rather than these grand statements, because I have to go look up everything you say before I can reply. So it takes up a lot of time. That's it, I suppose. Just please try and look up what you're going to say to me, and then we can have a meaningful conversation once we can talk about actual facts, or we can, we don't have to go dissecting semantics, we don't have to go disagreeing with facts and figures. We can talk about actual argument, we can form arguments and so on. So that's it, really. Cheers.